Hi there, my name is Justin, founder of Village, and I wanted to give you a quick walkthrough to show you a little bit about what is Village. So Village is a HOA management platform. So it's a SaaS platform hosted in Amazon Web Services and designed to make it easier for board members to manage the community and easier for residents to get what they need from the HOA. So without any further delay, let's just go through the platform. So quickly, the landing page here is the dashboard. Now this is a board member's view. So you'll see we call attention to the top items requiring attention, how many ACC requests are active, violations that are open, residents that are requesting access, and that would be access to the platform, and then some information on net income. So this is a make-believe platform. I've called it Hill Country Hills, but it'll give you a good idea as to what's going on in the platform. As you scroll down, you can see some details on the annual dues billing process, some specifics on violation tracking, and new users, as well as quick actions at the bottom. Now, personally, I'm still serving as president of our HOA here in Austin, Texas. We have 155 homes. I've been on 3 different boards, and so I fully understand, or I believe I understand a good bit about some of the trials and tribulations that go along with being a board member and serving your community. So our top items are definitely violations, definitely architectural control, but then access to data. So we've had property management firms, we've been self-managed for a while, and you just want to reduce the amount of load on you as a volunteer. And so there's a number of ways to do that with Village. And so I'll start here with the community home. And I won't go through in this video all of the different features, but I just want to hit on some highlights that show you the approach that myself and my team here took in building this unique platform to make it easier to manage your HOA and easier for residents to get what they need. So frequently asked questions is kind of the first stop in our community, looking at what are the questions people are asking and how can we give them the answers they're looking for very, very quickly. So if you open up the frequently asked questions, I've got 2 loaded in here. Now, as a board member logged in, you'll see down in the bottom left, I serve as a role of resident in this community as well as admin and super admin. Those roles are something that we can talk about later. But because of those roles, I'm going to have certain features like this add frequently asked question button. I'm going to have these editor icons next to each one, making it super easy for you to go prime your community with all of these different frequently asked questions. Now, we have some recommended questions that are common across a lot of communities. That's a theme you'll see here at Village, is we're trying to take some of the learnings that are non-proprietary. I mean, HOAs aren't generally in huge competition with each other, so we try to take some of those learnings and share those everywhere we possibly can. And those can include frequently asked questions, approach to budgeting, et cetera, et cetera. So if I want to add a frequently asked question, I pop it up and I've got 2 tabs up at the top, the details of the question and answer itself, and then the answer, which provides a rich text place to enter it. So I can name it. If I saw this in a list, I'd know what the text is, I know what the question is, what it covers, type the question, set the display order. If I want to include a link or a link URL in there, both the name and the URL, I can. And then you can go in there and edit here using common word editing features. We do have AI kind of throughout the platform. I find that having AI helping write stuff is not always the most useful part of it, but we have plenty of others in here. So you can use that here. So once you have a question here, you can click the drop down, you can see it. You see we have an email that's a link. We have this link, which was the link text, and it goes to, as you can see in the very lower left, it goes to a different page on a different site. But if I were to click the editor, I can then edit these all here. So the point being, Village makes it super easy for you to customize your community and build things that make the most sense for you guys. And another thing that we find, and I found this across a number of communities that I've served on the boards, this is one of the big frustration points. How do I submit a project? How do I get it approved? How long is it going to take? All that kind of stuff. So in the ACC guidance, this is where you can add items. So pool guidelines, make sure you have a fence, make sure you have a plat survey, all this type of stuff. And then you can reference the CC&Rs and the numbers specifically if the resident wants to do more research. And then there's a sample guideline here. So similarly, add an item, add the name, provide a brief summary, provide the rich text. If you want to provide the CC&R reference, you can here, and it'll quote it, and you can point the resident in the direction to review it themselves. And then you can tag it. And the tags are helpful. You can, by the way, create as many different tags as you want, and they'll show up here. But in this case, if we're giving guidance on trees, we do trees. If we're talking about something that involves a variance, the tags are useful because the AI that helps your residents find information pulls from a number of things. It pulls from the context itself, so it'll look at what you've written in any of these questions. It'll give certain weights to different areas, like in an ACC context, it would look at what you've written in ACC guidance. But it also pulls these tags, and it'll say, okay, I know this is related to trees and variance, so we've got to pull this information in here. So that's creating that item and ordering it, and then that will show up here in your ACC guidance items list. So going back to home, email archive, one of the things we find is that we send a lot of emails out to the community, and a lot of them have some really rich information, and of course those get lost in people's inboxes. So we have the system set up so that once you send an email through the messaging, and I'll show you down here, there's some admin tools that allow you to build messaging. So let's say you were going to go message and you're going to create this email and you want to send it to specific units or residents or groups. We'll talk about groups in a second. But once you send it, you can click down here, add to email history. And if you do that, then this will publish the email here in the community home in your email archive. And so if you want to view the email archive, you'll see all the emails that you sent, and you click add to the community. Now, if you're onboarding with Village and you have dozens of emails that you would like loaded up in here, where our team is ready to help, super easy to get those uploaded for you, kind of force them into the back end, and then they'll be there. And then any ones that you send forward you can choose to include them in there. Similarly, meetings archive. So not everybody makes the meetings. We have 155 homes. Let's say that 30 or 40 make the meeting on a normal basis. Obviously, if we have a vote or something, it's different. But then they have the view meetings archive, and you can click this and you can look at the different meetings. Each one of them has a specific set of details about them. You can edit those meetings. You can put a long summary. You can include a YouTube recording, upload the agenda, presentation, summarize those meetings. We do have in the admin tools a meeting manager, and in the meeting manager, if you schedule a meeting, you create the name, you create the meeting type. This is all really for your information, start date and end time, etc. And you put the short description. You can say you're going to meet by Zoom or any of the common, remote meeting types. You include the link, who's the visibility, and groups keeps popping up here, so I will show you that next. And then, topic builder is something that's pretty interesting. If you've ever used Slido, you can allow residents to submit topics, and then as others see them, they can vote them up, and you end up with a list of only the things that people want covered when it comes to like the questions at the end of the meeting for Q&A. But once you create this meeting, you can actually store the results of this meeting later on in the meeting archiver. So, okay, I promised groups keeps coming up. So you'll get a default group when you sign up with the Village, and the default group is just the board members that you've put. And if you click into board members, you'll see the group detail page, if you will, here, which says, okay, this is the board member group. It's invite only, it's got 3 members, and the email is board@, and it's for active board members. That's the description. Now, I, as an individual user, I am an admin. I can leave the group. I could email the whole group. I could change the settings of the group. In the group, there's a discussion, and you'll find this very familiar, a lot like Facebook, if you will, other social media posts, where I have put a post in here. Somebody can comment on it, can like it. If I want to do a new post, I do a new post. Title here. Here are my thoughts. And I post it. Now, when I post this in here, any of the other folks that are members of this group can come in here and comment on it. I like it. And then it starts showing up down this post just like you would see in your traditional social media platform. So anybody that has access to the group can come participate in this group meeting. And of course, you can archive these if they get to be too much, and then you can see those later. Members have some members here, some people I've made up, so don't email them. And then meeting notes. If you have a meeting, if this group has a meeting, now think about this as it applies to committees. Think about this as it applies to other groups in your community. But you can save meeting notes and understand as a board member, are those groups meeting? Is there a committee on landscaping? Are they having meetings? And what are those meetings? What happens out of those meetings? Is it a special meeting, an annual meeting, emergency meeting, other type of meeting? What type of meeting? And then they can keep their meeting notes in here. And coming soon, the ability to upload PDFs or other documents to the meeting. So in groups, you can create, as an admin, you can create a group, name it, description, the alias, and whether it's open to everybody, invite only, or if it's private, and then you can create the group. Now, people in your community, so that they're not always hounding the board, people can go create a group, or I should say recommend that it get created. So it gets created and filled out, and then it comes to the admins whether or not to approve the creation of that group. And once that group is created and it's in the groups here, then that group becomes useful in things like messaging. So if we go back down to the admin tools and go back into messaging, go into email messaging, if I'm going to create an email, I can email a specific group. And right now there's only one group here, so it's only going to be able to email that one group. But you'll see that I selected that group. Now in the messaging, you can select different residents, you can select units, residents, other emails. If there's property managers outside of your roster, you can add those here. You set the from name, the reply address, etc., etc. You can attach files, send now, schedule for later. And then, of course, you have the option to add it to your email history, save it as a draft, or you can preview the email itself. So other things that are pretty interesting in here, vendor directory is one. We have folks that submit CC requests and they include their contractors. We have people that ask, who do you guys use for window washing? Who do you use for pool service, etc. You can get a community vendor directory in here so that people can leave ratings and reviews, and you can feel more comfortable trusting different contractors, contacting different contractors through the vendor directory for the neighborhood. There is AI is everywhere these days, of course, and so one of the things that we do here is make it available, and the community can change the name to whatever it wants. So it looks like I still have a default rose in here from what I had set for this community here. But basically this AI picks up on your CC&Rs, your bylaws, your ACC guidelines, anything that you have set in the general settings here. And there's a lot here to go through, so I won't go through all of it, but you have AI chat guidance. Now AI chat guidance, there's a couple different kinds. There's general guidance, so kind of your overall friendliness, your overall posture. If you don't know a lot about AI, you don't have to be intimidated here at all. AI can quickly, as a concept, get way over everybody's heads. We include in here general instructions, but one of the things about AI is it's just the computer. So you have to tell it how to behave. And so you put in some important instructions up front, what you want it to always do, never do, don't end responses with, et cetera, et cetera. So topic specific guidance. So if I want to create a new guidance rule and say that, whenever somebody asks about a casita, I want them to know these things. And so you can say, here's when somebody asks casita or these other related keywords, this is a top priority. This is the number one thing that comes up in our community. And then you just provide coaching here. You should review these documents. This is the, how we approach that. You can give it an example question, and then of course you can give it the tags that are related to this. As far as documents go, so it's a kind of a three-pronged approach here to AI. I already mentioned the general guidance. There's the topic-specific guidance, and then document knowledge. So what do you want it to learn from? So typical documents are your CC&Rs, your bylaws, any guidelines. But if you have other documents that you've written and you want to upload here, you can come click and have it re-index documents. And that's basically telling the AI, I've given you some new things to learn, go read it, and then take that into account when you're answering questions in the community. We go into a lot more detail on here, and our team is happy to help you set this up. But this is an incredibly powerful way of making AI really approachable and applicable to make your life as a board member easy and to make your residents have a better experience. Financials, obviously very important. I kind of approach this toward the end of this video here because it's everything that you would expect. You have a dashboard that shows you your balance, transactions that need categorizations. So one of the things that I find annoying is that constantly having to remember to go in and categorize transactions. There is some auto categorization here and some even enhanced options for that. But generally, this is just a pretty quick way to go through here. These are a bunch of mock transactions here, but okay, the description there, how do I categorize it? And then it'll suggest, and it'll tell you I have really low confidence in this suggestion here. I think United Airlines is gas, but then you choose the account that you think applies or that you want it to apply, and then you save it there. But financial setup is one of the more important things, obviously, but if people aren't doing this right in their software, they have no business being in the software business. And so it's everything you would expect. You can connect your bank accounts here through the traditional Plaid connections, log in, pull the information forward. Here's all the fake accounts that I've included in here. Import tools. So as you're getting up and running on Village, we have a lot of what we call magic imports here. So you can pull in your budgets and actuals, start the import. You can download a template to make it a little more accurate up front. You can download all of these bits of information. And again, if you have any questions at all, you can reach out to our team, our support. You can see our help.vlge, VLGE.I is a great, rich help site for this information, but also our team's very, very happy to set up some time. Your files are get done for you. That's all the setup side of things. So budgeting, another area I think Village does a great job in terms of differentiating. So you can create a budget two different ways. For the non-financial board members, the folks that didn't intend to get a degree in accounting in order to volunteer for the board, we have the budget builder. For everybody else, if you're a bit of an expert and you want to just go create your own budget, you create the name, etc., and then you start manually selecting the accounts and building it. Ultimately, what you want to end up with is a budget that starts with accounts. So you have your income accounts, fees and fines and dues and all that kind of stuff. And then you have all the way down into, so if I click on editing here, you'll see all the way down to the expenses here, electric, water, sewer, internet. I think I just did a basic budget one here, but you start with the income fees and you go all the way down through, or income amounts, and you go all the way down through your fees, and then you end up with a budget. And you can of course export this into CSV if you really wanted to make changes here and change it. The budget builder though, let me just show you this. So this basically is an interview that walks you through as a volunteer board member, like how do I set up this budget? What do I want to do? I don't even know where to start. So how many units do you have? Okay, let's say I have 155 units. Let's say my dues is $1,200. Okay, so my income is $186,000. When is your first bill month? So when is the first bill of the year due? Some communities operate on a slightly different timeline, but most are January. So we say January. Do annual dues. So it's collected once per year. And what this is going to impact is where the dues income falls throughout the year. So in this case, it'll all fall in January. In reality, some will unfortunately bleed over into February, but this is the way this is set up on a budget standpoint. You plan on annual dues collections. How many units typically receive fines in a given year? So who knows? But if we say 3 people a month, so that's probably 36 fines throughout the year. The fines average $25. Okay, there's $900. So great, let's do that. Do you charge an application fee for your ARB ACC requests? We do, and so let's say it's $50. How many do you think? I can look at the data over the last couple of years and say, I don't know, we got out, 35 a year. So that's $1,750 there. And then you start going down, and this is where, we're on page 8 of 15. Which type of expenses do you expect? Do you pay management fees? Do you have legal fees, accounting and audit fees? I'm sure you have insurance. And then you start putting in amounts here. So, okay, maybe we pay $10,000 in there. Maybe we pay $5,000 in legal fees. Maybe we do $400 there. Maybe insurance is $6,000. Office supplies, maybe we spend $200 in the whole year, and so on and so forth. And you go down through software and technology. So do we have a software subscription? Yes, we love Village. So we pay, $2,200 a year for that. Website hosting? No, because we have Village. Any other software? No, because Village covers it all. So that's it for our software for the year. Landscaping, super expensive amount. We pay $60,000, I think, for that. Anyway, so on and so forth. We don't have a pool. We don't have anything to build repairs. We don't get much snow removal. Electric, okay, let's pay, $2,000 for that. Or in sewer, we pay $3,000. And you end up with a budget at the end. I'm just going to skip through here, reserve fund, but you go through each of these buckets, and then you get presented with your budget. So look, this is a 2026 operating budget. The budget name is 2026. And, wait, I've created one with a surplus of $99,000. Wouldn't that be nice? But then you create the budget. And so now it's going to create your budget, and we've got this draft here of the budget that I just created. And I can, duplicate it. I can edit it now. I can come in here and I can edit each one. If I missed categories, I can add the categories here. Anyway, budgeting process, very important, but also very, very easy when it comes to Village. There's a lot else to go through here, kind of getting long on this particular intro video, but we have board tasks where you can create different tasks for yourself and for others. There's private and there's public. So if you're sitting around a board meeting and you have Village up, you can say, we got to do that before the next time. And you can know who's going to own that. you create that task. ACC requests, another big differentiator here. You'll see I've been playing around with these, and I've got some that are drafts. But one of the neat things about Village is you come in here, you could create your different project types, but we put a bunch in here for you. But if somebody's going to build a pool, you can put some text in here that says, hey, heads up, there's a mistake a lot of people make, and so make sure this is taken care of. You get to draft this, you get to make this appear when somebody chooses pool. When they also choose pool, maybe you have some guidelines, some ACC guidelines, and so you can put those here and say, for that project, here's some resources to help plan. Now, this has just one, but you can have multiple guidelines here. So let's say there's something that applies to every single project. Well, you can have that tagged and put here. In this case, this pool guidelines just applies to pools. So when I click it, it pops up, it says, hey, here's the CC&R reference, and here's some guidelines. We want to make sure that you have a fence. You got to note the fence, you got to note the plat survey. These are mistakes people make when submitting that kind of drag out the approvals and make for a lot of back and forth. So we kind of head that off here. Put your information here. Now mine's pre-filled in here. Are you using a contractor? So this is where people will say yes, and they can send this over to the contractor to upload the plat survey and the rendering. So it's a big difference. We've had folks that have asked forever in our community, I can't share my login because it's got all my financials with the contractor, but I want them to do the work, and inevitably it doesn't work. So in this case, you can add a contractor. If your community's already used it and you start searching for them, it'll show up here. Yep, that's the one I want to use. And then you click share, and it'll let you share your project with the contractor. And once you share it with the contractor, they're able to fill in all of this stuff on your behalf. Give your project a description, very, very clear in separating what it is we need and knowing whether the resident uploaded each one of these or the contractor did on their behalf. So you need a plat survey for most of these projects. You need project renderings, and you need other files. If you put these all together, like a lot of software out there, you end up with people that just click it and they don't remember what they uploaded where, and I think that's it, and they send it over. And you end up with a lot of delays in the back and forth. We do require a submission fee, so we've got that wired up with Stripe here. We've got the product set up in our financial setup over here. So $50, you pay the fee, it pops up the Stripe checkout, and then allows for payment. And then once that payment happens, you can click acknowledge items and submit. Now, because I'm not putting a payment in here, you can't see it, but there's a lot of acknowledgments that a lot of a lot of communities want to put out there. So I acknowledge I'm not going to let the contractor park in the grass. I acknowledge there's a speed limit. I can't start before I get approval. All of those things, and they acknowledge those things before, and all of those are in the general settings in the ACC setup. So you can set up all your vendor acknowledgments. You can set up all of your project types and acknowledgments. In this case, I've read the CC&Rs regarding my project, and I acknowledge no work should begin. These are both required acknowledgments. So lots more in the platform, but you can see kind of the direction we're taking here, thinking of all the little details, letting you set up ACC exactly the way it works for you, making it easy for residents. You can set up your preferences here. What do you call the ACC? Is it ARB, et cetera, et cetera. You can set up your design settings and all the different palettes here. Plenty of customizability here. So sign up for a free trial. Check it out. Take it for a test drive. Let us know what you think, and if there's anything we can do to help, just let us know. Thanks.